you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
All righty, and welcome to the Tuesday, December the 17th, 2024 edition of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and we sincerely thank you for tuning in to today's show. Most of you already know the number, but for those who are new to the show, as I did speak with a few people last week, here's the number. You can tell your friends we're on live. This is a live show. 516-453-9921. Call that number, and you can press the number 1 button if you have a question or a comment. You can press that button and do your thing. Ask your question for Mr. Fuller, and we'll try to get that answered for you. If you do not want to do that, you can Gmail me, and that is at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY, @gmail.com. And I will ask your question for you. Looks like you might be able to get through today. I do have some Gmails that are backed up, but you can get through today. And lastly, you can get on with Blog Talk in the chat room. Go to blogtalkradio.com. You want to click on programs. When you click on programs, a menu will come up, a list of shows, and you want the Produce Justice show. And you can get in there and have a chat with those who are in the chat room. Just remember, do not ask a question in the chat room for me to ask Mr. Fuller. Don't do that. Okay? All right. Let's see. The book that will be referred to today is the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept that you can still get by going to producejustice.com. Now, if you have any issues with that, somebody did contact me yesterday about an issue that they were having. And as I have said before in the past, and this person knows this, there's nothing that I can do personally. You've heard what management said that they would do if you contact the site. That's where you have to go, and that site is contact@producejustice.com. That is contact@producejustice.com. State your issue, and they will handle it. Now, if you come to me, it's not going to work. But you already know that. That kind of bothered me a little bit, and it still does a little bit, because the person that did that knows the rules, but did it anyway. Anyway, moving on from that, let that go. But that's what you do. That's what you do. Okay, I think that is it for today. So let me say good morning, Mr. Fuller, and how are you and how are you feeling?
Good morning. I'm still learning, and I am recuperating from illnesses, which I won't describe, but it's still bothering me some. And but I decided I had to get back on the air.
Okay.
So here I am.
Thank you, and I'm glad that you said that, because there were many that were inquiring about that, and I could only give them what I knew, which was nothing. Just whatever management told me, and that was it. But you had many, many calls. As a matter of fact, I stayed online for about 2 hours just fielding calls because people were greatly interested in what was going on. And being truthful, I just told them that I did not know, but, to hang on in there and we'll see what's happening. So good to have you back on the air again. You were missed by many. Okay, 453-9921 is the number that you call to get back into the show. Okay, been a couple of weeks. So, Mr. Fuller, we have a situation or a little section that we call the thoughts and expressions on the mind of Neely Fuller Jr. Mr. Fuller, being today as the 17th of December, 2024, what is on your mind that you would like to discuss with the audience?
We're going into a new year, 2025, and I would like to see us, starting right this minute, all of the people who are causing death. This is not the solution, and that should be clear to everybody by now, to settling whatever problems plague everybody throughout the entire planet. Just stacking up bodies, stacking up bodies, stacking up bodies. Everybody, well, hey, no more talking. Let's kill, 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 kill in the churches, kill in the church schools, kill everywhere. Just kill. You're dissatisfied with something, kill everybody, including yourself. Just kill. That's the solution to everything. This life is rotten. Well, why is it? You better believe it is. But why is it? It's all what they call, in a slang expression, man-made. So I want to talk about going into the next year, solutions. But that's the first thing. Or even if we don't stop it, just keep on talking about stop the killing, first of all, and then sooner or later somebody got to come to the table and sit down and talk anyway. Logic says that. And we should all have the intention of being in the business of producing justice, which means nothing but just help all the people who need help the most, and don't mistreat anybody in the process of doing so. But I'm quite sure that we're going into the next year, same thing, every day. It's on the news. And the reason for this is just a centuries-old thing of glamorizing making death. It's nothing new. It's just being accelerated to the point of absolute world insanity. World insanity. And long before, I guess, the system of white supremacy came into being, people were killing each other. When, at the same time, they'd kill each other maybe 40, 30 years wars and all like that, 60 years wars, and then they'd wind up coming to the table. Why not come to the table right from the beginning? And don't leave until these matters are settled. Every last one of them that you came to the table for, to use the slang expression, coming to the table. Even I've been told Jesus, in his last days, came to the table to talk. And his philosophers had blasted for over 2,000 years in many religious leaders. Martin Luther King, he's going to grow in stature, because if you listen to everything that he says, you may not agree, disagree, or agree with some of the things he said, but I haven't heard him say anything in any of his speeches, and I've listened to a lot of them, that didn't make sense. And all of the people down through history who made the most sense grew in stature. And the person people have asked me about Jesus and all like that, it seems like he made a whole lot of sense about a whole lot of things, or his name wouldn't have lasted so long for the things that he's known for. And a lot of other people, Julius Caesar, his name has lasted long, Napoleon Bonaparte. But these were people who were killing God's products called people, one of God's favorite products, apparently, who can come up in their minds with things like artificial intelligence and whatnot. So people are the most intelligent creatures on the planet. And look at what is being done with it by people, trying to figure out new ways to kill people. If you come up with something new, how can we use to kill somebody? How can we use this new invention? Invent the wheel. So you invent the wheel, say, okay, well, riding around in an automobile, getting from one place to another, that's a glorious thing. But why not put treads on it, not for farming, but to give it traction to go kill somebody? We need more tanks. More tanks. Send some more tanks. Tanks for what? To kill people, including children. As many of them as you can. Look for them. Oh, there's a child just been born. We're going to show God what we think of God's creation. Bang, bang, bang. So the code is saying, stick with it, regardless of what's happening. Continue on doing what the people whose word has lasted, most of them religious leaders, down through the ages, because the ones who made the most sense, those are the ones that lasted, the ones who were attempting to do the correct thing. But now, there's so much evil, it's so overwhelming, it spills over right into church services and temple services and mosque services. Killing. Go over there and kill them. There's enough of them over there assemble. Body counts. That's what we love. But we're going to have a lot more of that from what I see. But keep on keeping on anyway. It's going to get real ugly.
Absolutely. All righty. All right, thank you, Mr. Fuller. 516-453-9921 is the contact number. You want to press that. So let's go to the phone lines. And speaking about the killing, of course, it wasn't in his city, but let's go to Corey in Milwaukee. Corey, good morning. And I know you're in Milwaukee, but something happened in Madison, I believe it was yesterday, at that Christian school. But anyway, what is your question, and do you have any more information other than what has been publicly released on that mass killing in Madison, Wisconsin yesterday?
Yeah, greetings, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. I saw that news piece. Evidently, like 3 people were killed, including the shooter, and 2 people are in critical condition. But yeah, Madison's not. It's pretty close to Milwaukee. So yeah, It's unfortunately, it's just not surprising, Mr. Fuller, and I really didn't have a specific question, but more of a VGQ, and I'd just like to ask you, Mr. Fuller, if you'd like to comment on this. I feel that in the midst of all this killing and all these horrible things happening, there also seems to be individuals who are testifying of their love of God or their appreciation of trying to develop a closer relationship with the Creator and sharing this with one another. So, I guess my question would be, do you notice this in the midst of this tragedy? Are you noticing a similar thing, Mr. Fuller?
A similar thing to what?
In the midst of all the killing and all this negativity happening in the world, there seems to be some people who are going the opposite route of that, who are seeking to produce justice. I'm hearing it more personally from individuals. We're having more conversations about the Creator and more conversations about helping one another and trying to put it into practice. Do you notice that at all, Mr. Fuller?
I notice that, and man, the more I hear of it, I think we're on the threshold of, regardless of how ugly everything is, that this is an opportunity for a breakthrough, because I think people are getting sick of it. Black people killing each other and whatnot, and seeking glory out of how many deaths they can cause and what kind of gangs they can join just for the sake of seeing how many people they can kill, because that's all it's really about. It's not about the money. It's not about anything. It's just about kill God's products. We're mad at God. And so the best way to express it is whatever God creates, kill it. And then look around at what created me and say, now, how do you like that? If people stop and think about it, that's exactly what they're doing. They can't impress people no more with the killing. It's been so much of it. People are drowning in it. So it's wearing thin. This thing about just killing. How many people can we kill today? Take another body count. Was it 5,000? Somebody told me it was 8,000. Well, I hope it was 8,000, because that's entertainment. 8,000 people killed. Yeah. It was a false thing that happened. The first reports we got, they said it was 5,000. Now it's gone up to 8. Oh, yeah, now we're getting entertaining. I hope it goes up to 10. That's a nice round figure. Look at this insanity. Look at it. And just like the caller is saying, but there are signs that people are saying, I'm sick of this. Some of the people who have done it, done all this murder, they're saying, I'm sick of it. I'm getting sick of it.
Yeah.
And that is a breakthrough that needs to be fed big time. And you feed it by doing what? Guarantee that no one is mistreated, and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. And so
yes,
I've been writing outlines. I mean, I hope I can get this idea over before I get into the grave, and that is everybody on the planet has to be, in order to settle this, guaranteed full health care. I mean, that should be the world mission. I mean, it's one of the top items, because without health care, everything else is down the drain.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, you're not caring for anybody's health if you're killing people. I mean,
yes.
Health is about healing. That's why it's called health. Reparations. And everybody's entitled to it. White people, they're entitled to reparations for a lot of things that have happened to them. So I've worked out what I call super Social Security. And it should consist of the 4 basic things that everybody should have, guaranteed forever. And that is excellent health, number 1. Number 2, is, I'm having a senior moment here, a sick moment.
That's okay.
Yeah. Number 2 is, it's right on the edge of my mind, but I lost it.
That's all right. That happens.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I'm looking right at it in my notes because I figured I might forget. Excellent health, number 1, and housing. Everyone on the planet should have some way to go that's somewhere to go when the sun goes down or when the sun is up. That is adequate with plenty of heat when it's cold, no broken windows and all that, plumbing breaking down, all that's fixed because we're guaranteed that everybody on the planet is going to have a place to stay. Jesus was looking for what? I mean, his parents, rather, when he was born, looking for a place to stay. All right, if you want to use a Christian metaphor, and wound up sleeping and being born, rather, in very unpleasant,
unsanitary
environments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, called something called a manger.
Yeah.
Well, manger meaning what? You're in there with the animals in a stack of hay.
It was nasty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's not what you call adequate housing.
No.
Yeah, I mean, see, so there's all kinds of examples of that. Right. I mean, people's existence has fallen apart like it is now on account of what? Arguments about housing.
Mm-hmm. What's that third?
I mean, people are worried about being moved out. Mm-hmm. See, we're talking about the real world.
Okay, health.
I mean,
housing.
People say, Neely Full and all the rest of these people doing all this talking and whatnot. My furniture is on the street. And my baby is sitting on top of the furniture.
Okay. All right. Number 1, you said health. And number 2, housing. What's number 3?
Number 2 is the housing.
Right.
Number 3, education. Everybody should have a constructive education.
Okay.
Not just going to school to worship heroes like Napoleon Bonaparte.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going into Haiti and parting people with from their lives, all right, and making it stick down through the centuries. I mean, all this kind of nonsense.
Yeah, lying about that.
So that's education.
Yeah.
Most of our education is about worshiping heroes. When you go to school, they're doing this kind of stupid stuff. You don't worship no killer.
No.
There's no kind of hero, ever. I don't care what kind of killer he is. You're killing God's products. One of the best ones.
All right, what's the 4th one? Health,
and
housing,
the 4th one,
education.
And the 4th one is transportation. Everybody should have adequate transportation. People's lives are destroyed because they couldn't get here, couldn't get there, couldn't get to the hospital on time because the transportation system was so bad. That's one thing that Eisenhower, sometimes evil people can sometimes come up with things. And Adolf Hitler came up with something called an atom bomb.
The Autobahn, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Autobahn. Not atom bomb. Autobahn. The idea for superhighways. Because he said Germany needed them. So they built them. So General Eisenhower, right after the war, said he noticed that Germany was real modern when it came to that particular thing. Mm-hmm. Helping the transportation system by having modern highways that can go long distances. I mean, with comfort and ease, which is something you don't have now. All right, and so that's the fourth one.
Okay,
that's
so those are super social.
Yeah, and it's right in line for people start talking about, but that's socialism and communism. No, that's right in line with the Constitution of the United States. That's why I'm saying you incorporate all of that. Super Social Security, universal Social Security. That includes everybody.
Everybody.
I mean, and that would also be an envelope for reparations.
Okay.
This stuff they're talking about giving people cash and all like that, that's going to make 1 million more problems than it solves.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And those who don't believe it, try it.
Okay.
I can see that coming.
You can see it coming. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Corey, for your question. Let's do this one right here, Mr. Fuller. This comes from Gary. He says this from the Gmail. He says, Mr. Fuller, do you think white supremacy will intensify under Donald Trump?
It may. I don't know. That's why when people have asked me, those who have thought to ask about what did I think about Mr. Trump and his failures and triumphs and all like that, since nobody has asked me, but they're asking me now, I'm saying I don't know, which is what I was saying then. And even when the election came up, people said, well, who do you think's going to win the election? I say, I don't know, and I don't talk about it. I'm just waiting for everything to play out and happen, which is exactly, and people were kind of surprised at that, including people in my care unit and whatnot. I say, I'm not making no comment on Donald Trump one way or another. I say, I don't know which way anything is going. I'm just saying, handle it the same way. I don't care who's coming and going or who they're supposed to be or what their reputation is. I'm saying stay focused on doing the correct thing. As Spike Lee would say, doing the right thing. Real simple. What did Confucius say? I got to keep reminding people of that simple phrase, proverb, brother, or observation, whatever you want to call it. Life is simple. Men make it complicated. And that's the truth if ever it was told.
That's the truth. Yeah. Okay. All righty. All right. We don't know about that. Okay. Let's break it off here. You're listening to the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, and we thank you for listening to today's program. Contact number, you know what it is, but for those new, 516-453-9921. And if you have a question, press the number 1 button. And if you are a new caller to the show, and I did speak to a few people, call that number and make sure that you tell the person on the other end that you are a new caller, and then we will make sure that you get to the front of the line, so to speak. Anyway, you will be heard. You can also Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY, at gmail.com. I will get it and probably can read it if things go to forum. And you can also join the chat room, Blog Talk. Go to blogtalkradio.com, and you want to look for shows, and the show that you want is the Produce Justice Show. You click on that West under Programs, the Produce Justice Show. You click on that, and then when you do, then the chat room becomes available, and there are many in the chat room. Many have much to say. Yes, yes, yes. So you can do all that. Books that I've been talking about today is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, which can be obtained by going to producejustice.com, producejustice.com. Make sure you get that. Okay. Thank you, Corey, for your question, and thank you. Who wrote? Well, no, you erased it. Okay, let's go here. Let's go to Brooklyn, Toussaint. You've been hanging on. Let's go here. Wait a minute. There we go. Toussaint, wait, there you go. Toussaint, good morning. You're on.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Yes, sir.
I have 2 questions I would like to ask, if that's all right.
Go ahead.
All righty. Mr. Fuller, the first question is in relation to what you were just talking about in terms of death. What do you think are some of the most constructive ways to handle the passing of a loved one?
Oh, you should predict it. See, we come into the world with nothing because we had nothing before we came into the world. So we are given a thing called life. And according to the record, people only stay here in what we call this life only so long, because I think I'm pretty well up there, but I understand some people, like Methuselah, lived 900 years, I believe, is reported. That's one person back in history. And that you can have that, like Martin Luther King said, a long life. He would like to have it. But if it's cut short, so be it. Because how long is long and how short is short depends on how you want to measure it. 900 years doing what? There's only so many things you can do. I think Elijah Muhammad said, when asked, if I remember, and I don't want to misquote him and whatnot, he says that that's the way it's supposed to be. You stay here so long, you accomplish your mission, and then once you accomplish what you were assigned to do, you know, or even if you don't accomplish it, you do your best, and then what put you here takes you away in one form or another. By the statistics, I've been told, being 95 years old, recently someone told me, and they looked it up, they said the person who is 95 years old is not likely to live past the next 2 years. That's 97. 95, 96, 97, right. 2 more years. And so people have asked me, what did I think about that? I said, I think that that's the averages, because they have done the math and they checked out people worldwide and whatnot. So the average person who right now is 95 won't get past the next 2 years. You'll be checking out. And I'm showing signs of deterioration, even though I've, for the last 15 years, roughly, I have been taking care of my health, something I didn't do before. I was eating greasy hamburgers just like everybody else. But people who are doing that, you are digging your grave with your teeth. You're eating all these, they said, got somebody called a fancy chef. Look at what that chef is putting on the table. It looks good. I mean, to me, I look at those programs where these chefs are fixing all this food. But then I asked the lethal question. How much of it, this person has been to culinary school now, how much of what is in those skillets and pots is healthy?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question everybody ought to ask. When you're sitting in a fancy restaurant, what is this? That's the first thing. And you can say, boy, this tastes good. I look at it on television, and, man, it looks like it does taste good. But dig in your grave with your teeth. And a lot of people who are sitting, I go past these restaurants, I see a whole lot of people, particularly, unfortunately, on the kind of the frustrations that they have to put up with, the brutality, is black females, 6 of them at the table. They all meet on weekends and go to a fancy restaurant, hoping to meet somebody that makes sense, and never do meet anybody that's making sense, because very few people make sense about anything now, you know. And they're sitting there doing what? Well, I can't have a man that's worth anything, or anything that you can really call a man, just boys. And I got 5 boys. So what have I got left now? Other than a whole lot of misery? Food. So me and my girlfriends are going to pig out every weekend at the Zezuzuni restaurant with the fancy chefs bringing the second round of poison. Because that's what that is.
Yeah, that's what that is. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Something to think about. What's your second question, Toussaint?
All right. So, Mr. Fuller, I'm not sure if you've heard, but out here in New York, there was a business CEO of a healthcare company who was assassinated. And my question is, the killing of the CEO, who basically created a company, he created infrastructure to make the company deny more claims for people who I would assume would also be, not all, but a lot of them were classified as non-white in terms of being able to receive health care in relation to what you were talking about in terms of Social Security. So my question is it possible to make anything constructive, even non-constructive acts, if the results produce a constructive outcome? For instance, in this example, this has sparked a lot of conversation regarding the healthcare industry. While conversation may not be a result, it has sparked a lot of what I would like to think is constructive conversation. So I just wanted to know, do you believe it's possible to make even a non-constructive act constructive depending on what the result of that act is?
All righty. Let's give Fuller a chance to answer that. Mr. Fuller?
Not in this day and time. All killing should stop, regardless of the reason. All of it. And that's not the way to sell things. The way to sell things is how people always have sold things. Coming to the table. I don't care if, 100 Years' War, they said. It was something like that. My history teacher taught me in about the 8th and 9th grade that there was 100 Years' War. But after the 100 years, what's the result? People still killing each other. And more and more and more. As the years go by, people have not decreased killing, they have increased it. Not only that, I understand that more and more dozens of bookstores are now opening, which they said that books had just about gone forever on the kind of the internet and all like that. It turned out not to be true. But what are in these books? I asked someone last night, we were talking about books. I said, how many of these bestsellers in all these bookstores, shelves groaning with books, are about something constructive and not what you call murder mysteries and all like that, as a form of entertainment? Some of the biggest books you'll find on the shelves are murder mysteries. I mean, they'll drag Agatha Christie around like forever. Why? It's all about murder. I think that's a book. So, Murder on the Orient Express. And since then, how many murder mysteries? Raymond Chandler, Dashiell Hammett, James M. Cain. I used to read them. Why? Because I was on the shelf. I say, well, you know, I got great enjoyment out of people killing people, private detectives. All right, I, the jury. One of the last sentences in that book was that the private detective, who was the main character in the book, I, the jury, back in the 1950s, shot a woman in the stomach. And her last words were, "How could you do this?" And then she died. And then his last remarks in that book that everybody was praising was, when he stepped over her body, it was easy. Her last words were, "How could you do this?" And he said, as he put his .45 caliber pistol in his belt, it was easy. Look at that. I guess I answered the question.
Okay.
Killing? No. Social Security? Yes. Keep plugging away.
Keep plugging away.
For everybody.
Let's go to a Gmail here. Says here, wait a minute, oops. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. This comes from Ross. I mean, he says, I do believe and hope that justice will be produced and replace this system of global racism with it. But if there is only one real government on the planet, how can a constructive result to destroy it and replace it with justice come from a black person who is allowed to be a leader or president in an elected position? Logic leads me to believe it comes from a so-called, quote, everyday, end of quote, person that we have seen try. Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, etc. Mr. Fuller?
Well, you do the best you can, inch by inch. And I think the creator of people. But like Memphis Slim said, you can always get help, but only the way you're going. As you go through life, you can't help knowing. You can always get help, but only the way you're going. So you just keep on keeping on. And, you know, people like Jesus of Nazareth is an example of that, down for at least 2,000 years. That's why that story has lasted so long. All right, a lot of people say, well, a whole lot of them miracles he was doing, it wasn't true. I don't believe that. Well, you don't know. You weren't there. And with the world being the way it is, you don't know when somebody's lying when they ain't. But you just say, well, if he was God in the flesh, oh, well, yeah, everything is possible. All right? And they say that that's who Jesus was. They don't say that about anybody else, except maybe a few people. I think the Muslims said that God in the flesh has been here and taught Elijah Muhammad. That's what I heard people say. And people ask me, is that true, Fuller? I say, I don't know, but it could be. I don't know. There's things I don't know. I can't lie and say that I know. I just say, well, could be. Lots of things could be. Like A&I. 50 years ago, wasn't nobody talking about nothing like that. Nothing close to it. But people have been talking about it for about 20 years now. Because I read a couple of books saying, hey, just be a little patient and keep going the way that you should be going, like Memphis Slim said, and these so-called miracles, just what A&I is going to solve a whole lot of problems. Now, it might make problems, depends on what people want to do with it, like any invention, like the motor car, You make an armored truck, but depends on what your intentions are. What are your intentions? It always comes down to what are your intentions. You shouldn't be famous for doing anything that's not constructive.
Okay. All righty. Let's go to Stan the Man. I mean, it's been a minute. Okay, maybe 5 minutes since we have heard from Stan the Man. Stan the Man in PA, get ready. Here we go, include you in here. Okay, Stan, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning, and what is your question?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Fuller and Mr. Bobby. It has been a minute, but it's for constructive reasons. So
all right.
Just want to let you know that. And excuse me, I wanted to say that Mr. Fuller, I wish for you continued health or improved health, and that I have 3 friends above the age of 90 that you don't mind, that I consider you one of those friends, as I admire your wisdom, your great wisdom. And, you were speaking about killing as coming to the table and talking, and I think I would like to contribute something that I read, because sometimes we find ourselves in situations where people do things against us, and we want to seek revenge. And something happened to me, but I ran across this quote, and it was said that time spent getting even could be time spent getting ahead. And so I think of that often when I find myself in that frame of mind of getting revenge, is that, just concentrate on getting ahead. The time that I'm spending trying to get revenge could be time spent getting ahead. And but that was my statement. But I wanted to say that, speaking more about the killing, if I could recommend Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech Beyond Vietnam was great. And also General Smedley Butler wrote a book in the 1930s. He was a Marine Corps general, and his book is called War is a Racket. And he explains why war is a racket. But the question I have, and I'm going to get off the phone, is that, you were in the military, Mr. Fuller, and I just wanted to ask you, how do you feel about men walking around wearing Vietnam veteran hats and T-shirts and things like that? Because I've always thought that it was silly and immature to advertise that you had taken part in the war. And I just wanted to ask you that question, sir, and I have a wonderful day, and I look forward to hearing you.
All right, thank you, Stan. Mr. Fuller?
Well, those who do it, they do it. Just like people walk around with caps on, like they were doing just like I say a few minutes ago, now you don't see them nowhere. Black Lives Matter. That's freedom of speech. So, let them say that. But then if people want to talk about it, then you talk and you say, well, are you glorifying what you're doing? Or are you just giving that out as information because it's the truth? You say you were in Vietnam and you're telling the truth and you want people to know that for whatever it's worth. And that calls for a discussion, maybe. Maybe they're soliciting a discussion, just like the people who wore caps saying, "Make America Great Again."
Mm-hmm.
So you don't argue about it and all like that. You just ask questions.
That's right.
Why are you wearing the cap? All right.
That's
you're
right.
Talking to Mr. Trump. That's what I would ask him. Make America great again. Okay, I might have 36 questions about that one statement. Make America great again. What is America? What is great?
Mm-hmm.
What is again? Let's talk about it.
Yes.
Talk about it for 50 days rather than
Absolutely.
fight.
Absolutely right. And research that too, by the way. Research everything.
Yeah.
I heard of a guy the other day. He was blacked out, but he was talking about the criminal conspiracy of white supremacy. And he said concerning that, he said about war, he said war in the criminal conspiracy of white supremacy is good for business. This is exactly what he said. War is good for business. And when you start to do the history of wars as much as you can find out about it, you'll see that the component that keeps it going is war. The war machine. What industries feed off of that? I'm not going to name any names because I'll get in trouble, and I don't need no more trouble than what I already have. But a lot of industries make their money off of going to war or preparing for war. The mills, the logistics, the bullets, all that stuff. Some economies depend on war, so war is always kept going. So forget what peace on earth and goodwill toward men. Mr. Fuller, you've been here for 96 years. Have you ever known any of this world to have peace on earth in your whole 96 years?
No. And
Exactly.
way before I was born.
Exactly.
Look at the Roman Empire. Nothing but worship and what? Murder. The ruins that are still left in Rome today was all about what? Let's take a little stroll as the royal family, as the emperor and all of his entourage, and go over and watch people being torn apart by the lions.
By the
all
lions.
Right. Now, fast forward. You don't have to be nervous about that, Mr. Bobby, about saying things about war being about making money too, a big thing. President Eisenhower, who was a military man, had every type of star on his shoulder that you could put stars on, okay, as a general and as a president. President Eisenhower, and you can look it up, he said the military-industrial complex, he says you've got to fight against it all the time, or these wars will just never end.
Mm-hmm.
He says the munitions people, the people who make bullets, the people who make rifles, the people who make tanks, they feed off of making death. All right? And the military says, hey, we're all in this together. And the politicians the politicians are part of the military. So it's all the same thing. It's a contract. It's guaranteed that, hey, everything is too quiet. Let's get another round of killing going. Okay, we got World War One, World War Two. We're a little hesitant about World War III, but we inching up on it. All right, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6. Why? Because as they say in any criminal operation, it's good for business.
It's good for business. That's exactly what he said. He said it's good for business. He went on to describe the banking industry and the darkness behind that you don't know. They have a public image, then they have this dark image, and then, of course, people know about black ops and things like that. That's why I don't want to say anything, because I would have to name companies that profit off of that, and I'm not going to do that. It's already in enough trouble, as it is. So no, I don't want to do that. All right.
Well, watch those words now, dog.
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, I was reading in the Holy Writ about watching words and what you say about people, and I remember you had said something about when certain things were said to you, how you did not respond. Well, I found a spiritual attitude about that this is what we're not supposed to do, and retaliate, even cursing. I even found a scripture about that, about filthy communication. Don't let it come out of your mouth. Why? Because of what it does to you on the inside. And as Corey or whoever it was that called in, maybe it was Toussaint, had called in, concerning that, spending time retaliating. Don't do it, because you're wasting time. All right, anyway, let me get this one here before we have to close out. It says, wait a minute. Okay, yeah. Please ask Mr. Fuller if he thinks that the fascination with death on the part of white supremacists and the victims of white supremacy is the grand curiosity of ultimately not knowing what happens to a soul's existence after death, regardless of what one individual believes.
If I've ever thought about it, I didn't think very far, because I didn't find that it was necessary. I just look at what people do and say it's either constructive or non-constructive. And killing, there's been so much of it, and it's really not so much of anything better than people talking, which is what they find to do after they get through killing and get exhausted from it. And, you got dead bodies all over the desert and everywhere else. And so you're just smelling dead bodies. So then you come and sometimes shake hands after it's all over. Say, well, you were a worthy opponent. Like in a game, which is what is regarded as far back as anybody can remember. And everybody is guilty. See, there's no such thing as, all this glorification of black history. Go back in black history and see, was anybody killing anybody? That's the question. All the historians and whatnot going around spending a whole lot of time praising black history. I have serious questions about that, because you're talking about civilizations. What civilizations have ever existed since, as here's a story I can believe, Cain and Abel? They were brothers.
Yeah, brothers.
There's 4 people on the planet: Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel. That's what I've been told. Now, if anybody disputes that, then they can tell me, but that's what I've been told. There's 4 people on the planet: Adam, Eve, they were the first ones. Then they had 2 offspring. One was Cain, and one was Abel. I think that's where the term ability came from. All right, being able. Okay, so Cain disabled Abel. Dissed, if you want to use that slang expression, by killing him, killing his own brother. And since then, that's what people have done. Killing somebody who has the same image they have. Cain killed Abel. From the stories I have heard, I wasn't there. I can't verify that. But I'm saying it sounds logical.
It sounds logical, yeah.
And that story has lasted for some time. Because there were, in the beginning, there had to be, when a first person was made, might not even been Adam. All right? But on the other hand, it could be true. I wasn't there. So I'm not. I can't dispute that, and don't even try. That's another thing. Don't try to dispute that. I mean, who was the first person in the universe? What was the first planet in the universe? Now, astronomers and researchers and all like that can say, but I can't dispute what they say. Why? I wasn't there, and I don't know nothing about it. I don't know where I was before I was born. But there are people who walk around on the planet saying, I know exactly where you were before you were born, before your mother even met your father. I knew where artificial intelligence has told me exactly where you were 10,000 years ago. Now, that might be true. I can't dispute it. I just say, well, you were telling me that, so I remember what you told me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The only thing about that, you say it might, but then it might not.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Don't talk about things, and just ask questions about things you don't know.
Ask questions.
You don't know for sure. For sure. All right.
Mm-hmm. All right. That concludes the first hour of the CRCS here, and we thank you for listening. If you got to go, then you just got to go. You got to do what you got to do. But for those who are going to stick and stay, don't go away, because we have another hour of the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller. We are welcoming back as we are welcoming you with all your calls and letters. So stay tuned. Give me about 5 seconds, make it 7, and we'll commence with the second hour starting right now. 7 seconds. Okay, welcome back to the second hour of the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. An entertaining first hour that we got through, talking about killing and a whole lot of other good stuff. But anyway, we want you to be a part of today's programming, or this hour's programming. All you have to do is call 516-453-9921. And you know the routine. Press the number 1 button if you have a comment or question. You can do that. And if you are a first-time caller, do the same. Just give the person on the other end, let them know that you are a first-time caller. They will alert me and give me your name, and we can get you on the air. You can also Gmail me. Here's my Gmail address. It is the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MrBobby at gmail.com. Chances are it probably will be read today, although I have mixed in a few others that have been in the waiting. But it will probably be read today, so you can do that. And lastly, you can join the chat room. So grateful that many of you have been in that chat room and have a lot to say. Good. Go to blogtalkradio.com. You want to click on where it says programs, and the program you want is the Produce Justice Show. You get on that, and you're in there in the chat room, My only thing is do not ask me a question to ask Mr. Fuller from the chat. That's not going to happen today. But you can get in there and get some good information, and occasionally I will glean from the chat room maybe a topic or a subject and have Mr. Fuller address that. Okay? Books that will be have been discussed is the counter racist, the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept that you can get by going to producejustice.com. That is producejustice.com. Anytime is a good time to order the books. I understand there is no problem with it. If you do have a problem with that, that can also be addressed so that you can get your copy of what you need. Monica in Buffalo, thank you. Yes, we're on now. So yes, Jane, Lance, yes, we are on live. Okay. Let's see. From the Gmail here, I guess this is a statement here. Let me see here. Let's see. This is about changing your energy vibration. I'll read as much as I can. Hello, Mr. Bobby. I've been thinking about language used to influence thought, speech, and actions. I'm confident with stating that most of us in the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept thought camp agree with Mr. Fuller's definition of racism, white supremacy, to mean a global group of people who classify themselves as white and who are dedicated to harming and or subjugating everyone in the known universe whom they classify as non-white. Racism, white supremacy, seems to me a people who are superior would not need to harm and or subjugate anyone as their superiority would be universally known and substantiated. From where I stand, only a people who are actually inferior need to harm and or subjugate other people to maintain the illusion of power. I'm choosing to replace racism, white supremacy with racism, white inferiority, RWI. To me, inferior is more accurate. Racism is the act, inferiority is the conditioning, driving the reason for the act. White is the political group who practices the act because of their inferior condition. Words are very important. Energy produces change. When words/language are changed, energy is changed. Problems can be observed from a different perspective and possibly produce a more effective approach to solving problems. VGQ, this person wrote, still learning. Do you agree with that, Mr. Fuller? Do you find that words have that kind of energy in your 96 years of living? Have you seen this or seen situations like this?
Well, I have said what I had to say, and that is replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. This is my focus. Now, if someone else wants to have a different focus and say, well, you can solve the problem by saying that white people are inferior to black people, well, if that solves problems, you can just express it. Well, once you take that position, what do? You took that position. It's just the reverse. That the inferior people, the white supremacists, are the inferior people, but they tell people that they are superior. And so I don't know whether or not that means that there's no such thing as white supremacy. It's just white inferiority. Well, it could mean that. So you talk about it just like we're doing now. But then you ask the main question, how does that help to replace whatever it is that's not the way it ought to be with universal Social Security? That's the key question. And if, you take that position and it works, well, then it worked. By saying that white people who believe that they are superior are really inferior, and that brings about the production of that thing called justice, so be it. Try it and see if it works. Everybody just walks around and takes for granted that the people who call themselves white supremacists are not supreme at all. They are inferior people rather than superior people. They ain't making nobody do nothing. People just do stuff because they got it all analyzed wrong, if that's what they call this saying. But I say, I don't know. Try it. Because what I'm trying is everybody on the planet, like according to the Constitution of the United States of America, is entitled, and it says so right in the Constitution, general welfare. We the people. Well, I'm one of the people, unless somebody tells me differently. Oh, you're not people, because at one time I understand I was classified as not being a person. I was classified as being property. Property of whom? The white supremacists. That's whom. But you discuss it. Discuss it and see if that'll go over better, that people at least will feel better by saying that the white supremacists are really not supreme, that they are inferior, and then go from there. What do you do now that you know that or believe it? They're inferior. Yeah. So what do you do? That's the question.
That's the question.
Do you do anything? Maybe you do nothing. I don't know. If it works. But I'm saying that the approach that I have is that the white supremacists are functionally supreme.
Functionally supreme, okay.
Yeah, and I didn't use the term superiority.
Mm-hmm.
I said they're supreme. Supreme meaning what? That they tell people what to do who have color in their skin all over the world, as far back as I can remember, and as far back as historians, if they told the truth, can remember. Because I don't know when white supremacy began, but I do know that it does exist, in my opinion.
In your opinion, yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All righty. Let's go to here in Ohio, Talif. Yeah. Here we go. See if I can get you on here, and then we'll go to Blacktop. Talif, good morning. You're on with Mr. Fuller.
Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller, there's quite a few things I wanted to touch on, but Mr. Fuller, you talked about taking care of your health. Well, I'm a guy that don't eat meat. My mother never fixed it growing up. I typically just do 3 smoothies a day, fruit and veggies. But I do know a lady who was a little overweight, and she was a real good person, always kind. And so she decided to do something about her health, and then she lost a lot of pounds, and she's looking really good. And now her female friends, even the ones that were small, don't even want to be bothered with her. Also, the brother that mentioned that book, I don't know why. I don't know if that's just a female thing, but they would tell her she needed to lose weight. But now that she's small and looking good, they don't even hang out with her anymore, now that she hung out. The brother mentioned that book, Just War. I got that book. Mr. Fuller, one thing I wanted to talk about and see if you would elaborate on. Okay, for this Trump derangement syndrome thing is just crazy, but I heard something about, and I'm going to be quick, Walmart. That was the big story, dropping their DEI, whatever.
Yeah, DEI, right.
Yeah, whatever that is. But people were coming out saying, well, we're going to boycott, we're not going to shop there. So I kept telling people, I said, okay. So some of you people got family members working at Walmart. I actually know people that retired from Walmart after 15, 20 years and took advantage of this stock program with a few $100,000. So, Mr. Fuller, what I said to them was, okay, so you claim you're going to leave Walmart. So you're going to either do one or two things. You're going to create your own stores, or you're going to take those Federal Reserve notes that you don't own and control, and you're going to take them to somebody else that don't like you, and that same game is just going to continue to flow. So, Mr. Fuller, why do we always think, well, I'm not going to take it to this white man, but I'm going to take it to another one, and you think that's going to produce a different result? I know the answer, but Mr. Fuller, if you don't mind elaborating on why do we always get caught up in that same game that they play with us? Okay, it's the same thing with, well, I don't want Kamala, but Trump going to take care of us. Why are we still begging other folks to do for us what we should be trying to do for ourselves, Mr. Fuller? And have a good day, Mr. Bobby. Next time you make it to the Yo, a lot of things going on, brother. A lot of things going on in the Yo. Come visit. I got you.
All right. All right, Mr. Fuller.
Well, if I understand the question, I'm a beggar. I understand for people who say that they're Christians, from what they have told me about Jesus, Jesus was a beggar. He was a carpenter by trade, because back in those days, whatever your father was, that's what you would be. If your father made a living, what they call a living, by being a fisherman, a fisher person, most likely you would be too. But Jesus walked away from the carpentry trade and became what? A drifter, what most people would call. You know, and in a slang term, derogatory maybe, like a gypsy. And he was mostly a beggar. Jesus was the first prominent, maybe, welfare recipient. I mean, even at the Last Supper, he didn't put that supper together. Other people did. They put in the labor and whatnot. I don't think Jesus brought the wine or nothing, but I understand that he did miracles, like somebody, of course he didn't have any himself, brought him 3 little fishes and 5 loaves of bread, and he accomplished a miracle by saying, I'm going to feed everybody, because I accomplished miracles. But somebody had to bring me the bread and the fish, because I didn't catch no fish. Now, I'm saying that's how the story was taught to me. I don't know whether it's true or not, but it could have been, all right? But basically, what people would call welfare, they say Jesus was, man, a welfare recipient big time. Mm-hmm. Just walking around with a gown on and some sandals, and didn't have no possessions and didn't have no place to stay most of the time. Well, always in, even in the Last Supper, he didn't own that. I don't know who owned the temple where the Last Supper was held, but somebody built it. Jesus didn't. No record of him, and he was a carpenter, but he wasn't working at the trade. In fact, his father came looking for him, so I've been told, and said, what are you doing? I got some work for you to do. He says, I'm out here talking to the fishermen. They say, what are you talking to them for? You ain't no fisherman. Say, well, I'm a fisherman of men. Say, that's your job? Yeah. Okay. Dad, goodbye. And basically, that's what he said.
And he paid taxes, too, by the way.
Who?
Jesus did. He said, yeah, when tax time came up, render unto Caesar what is Caesar, he told the disciples to go down there and catch a fish. He said, in the fishes, this particular fish's mouth, there will be a coin in there, to take that coin out at that time and pay the tax. So he paid tax.
I never heard that story.
Oh, yeah.
About the fisherman and the coin?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, hey, it goes to show, what do Fuller know?
Well,
so I'm saying examine everything. See, it's a whole lot I don't know about Islam, Buddhism, Confucianism, Christianity for sure. And I used to call myself a Christian, but I'm not qualified to do that. And so, I don't tell people that's what I am no more. I say that I have pluralist beliefs, meaning I believe the truth might be anywhere. So I don't know what to call myself. All right, I call myself a Christian. Immediately somebody gets hostile. Somebody gonna get mad. If I call myself a Muslim or a Buddhist, somebody gonna get mad, and not only get mad, if I call myself a Jew, somebody gonna want to kill me. All right? And we've seen that over and over again. The minute you get that label on you, you're a target now. Yes. So my label is, I am confused. I'm trying to find out what the true religion is. So everybody just keep talking and I'll listen.
Yes. Yeah, for reference, for those who don't believe anything that I might say, and you don't have to, and you shouldn't, that what Jesus paid taxes can be found in the New Testament book of Matthew, chapter 17, verses 24 through 27. That'll settle that argument. All right, anyway, go ahead, Mr. Fuller, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
What I said.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I said, I used to call myself a Christian because I was told by everybody I was around that's what I should be. When you going to join the church? So I joined at age 13. Why? Not because I felt like it's time for me to be a Christian, but because my buddy, who was sitting on that front bench, it was just two of us, Lonnie Polk in Muskogee, Oklahoma, and the preacher came before us and said, now these two children here, they should be in the church. That's why I called them down front to sit on this bench. And I want to ask them, will they accept the Jesus as your Savior? And so Lonnie Pope, he got nervous because we're sitting there, we're just kids. Yeah. So he stepped forward.
Okay.
So that just left, and everybody praised him, and then so praise the Lord and all like that.
Yeah.
And so it kind of panicked me. So I said, I'm dissatisfied.
Yeah. Well,
I'm the only one sitting there that's left. So I got up and said, I'll join, And they baptized me in the water, put me in the water and, didn't drown me. And I came out and I said, well, that wasn't too bad. That's all it takes. All right. And that was how I joined Antioch Baptist Church in Muskogee, Oklahoma at age 13. That's the story of how I joined. How much I believed in Jesus and how much I believed in Moses and all like that. I mean, I wasn't thinking about that at all. I was thinking about, I can't embarrass all these old folks. I better get up here and join right quick.
Okay. For additional reference to that scripture I had given, you should always backtick yourself. You can also look in the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verses 15 through 22nd. He was questioned by the Pharisees. That was Jesus. about taxes. There's a good reference there. There are probably many other references, but those are two. Concerning you, Mr. Fuller, still learning. That's what it is. Everybody's still learning. All right, thank you. Let's go to New York. We're going to go to the top, and that's Blacktop. Blacktop, good. Wait a minute. There we go. Blacktop, you are on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby, and good morning, Mr. Fuller. How are you doing?
Yes.
I'm still learning.
So I have a question.
Yes.
If in the event in the future, be it near future or far future, that there is ethnic cleansing of people classified as black in the United States of America. In the event of that happening, what would be the specific parts of the code that we would need to invoke, or we would need to follow stringently?
You mean like this naked extermination? Just start going from house to house, kicking in the door and killing everybody?
No, not extermination.
What are you talking about?
Ethnic cleansing. In other words, they're not killing us all. They just calling the numbers in large numbers, and they're pushing us away from whatever little bit of homes we have. So if you live in Newark, New Jersey now you got to go and move down to Mississippi now. They're forcing you at gunpoint now. I'm just giving an example. What would be the parts of the code if something like that would happen that we would need to follow, exclusively or intentionally, however you want to put it? If we were being ethically cleansed and our numbers were being culled, and if the government is either implicit in it or they're not doing anything about it, what would we need?
Wait a minute. What's this thing that you're talking about doing that they might do? You said something about going to Mississippi and all like that. So you have to kind of slow down so I can follow you.
Let me slow down.
What's the question?
What I'm saying, if they start ethnically cleansing us in mass numbers.
Let me go slow so that everybody's on the same page. If they start ethnic cleansing by doing what?
Say forcing us in some way or manner, maybe at gunpoint, to leave wherever we're at to make room for other people to stay there. Like, say, for instance, you live in Baltimore, and I'm just giving an example, or you live in Philadelphia. You have to move now to Mississippi. We want all black people to live there now. We don't want you living in the big city no more. We don't want you living in New York anymore.
Okay. Let me handle that.
And if you don't move it,
wait a minute, slow down. That's one thing we have to do in counter-racist codification. Slow down. If they decide, like they do every day, that Neely Fuller's got to move out of the place where he is right now, and he got 24 hours to do it, you know what Neely Fuller's got to do? Move. So that's the answer to that question. I either move or they come and get me and set my stuff out on the corner like they do everybody else who is in a weak position. I'm not in position to stop people. They come around with the sheriff and the marshal and people with guns. Now I got a choice to make. Am I going to fight right there, kill people because they're making me move? I've been made to move so many times. I mean, my goodness. My mother had a house that was paid for. So they didn't come with that debt thing, all right? It was bought outright by my father. A rock house, 3 bedrooms, indoor plumbing, even though we were out of the plumbing range, okay, back in those days. But white people say, you're going to have to move. In fact, we're going to tear that house down because that's one of the reasons we want you to move, because we're going to take that land. I mean, that land now is being evaluated on the kind of, it ain't worth nothing with a black person on it anyway. All right? So what did we do? My mother moved in, my caretaker moved in with my sister, who already was overburdened and didn't have enough room. But she made room. Why? She had to. And even if they had told her, you can't take your mother in. They allowed her to do that because my sister, why did they allow her to do it? Because my sister lived on a campus because she was a college teacher. So they allowed my sister to live in the same house, even though that wasn't the usual since my sister was not on the faculty, all right? But we moved. And that's what I moved. I've been moved. So if they say I got to move to Mississippi and all the black people are going to be herded into Mississippi, we're going to move. Why? If you understand white supremacy, who's going to stop them? I ain't got no army. Who's going to stop them? And when I move all the time anyway, that's what I mean by white supremacy. Yes. They prove what they say. Mm-hmm. They don't do a whole lot of talking. Mm-hmm. I mean, in fact, they do a lot of talking, but at a certain point, they say, I'm through talking.
Okay.
You go ahead and do what I tell you to do, or else you're going to be hurting more than you're hurting. Now, stop me. You're so smart, you and all your witty people, your college teachers. Both of my sisters were teachers, but the white supremacists tell the professors, the black ones, hey, you're talking to a white supremacist. You're not playing around. You're playing with fire, because I'll fire you up and have everybody applauding.
Okay. Did that answer your question there, Blacktop?
Yep.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Just
all right, let's break it off here and take this last break here. You're listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and we do thank you. Keep on listening for the last half hour of the show. For those who just called in, and Leona, I think we got you, The number is 516-453-9921. And make sure that you hang on and give the person on the other end your name so I can get you in. Good subjects today, and we'll go on, from there. Be good one for your question. I do not know, but when I do know, since you did ask the question in the chat, I will let you know when I know. But right now, I don't know. But I'll let you know on the chat, or rather on the Gmail once they give me the information. All right, books that can be obtained. You know what to do. Go to producejustice.com. Get that book. Boy, we're going to need that book. Have mercy, we're going to need that book. Producejustice.com. You can get that book. Past shows, you can get those and all other types of information. Yeah, they go way back on those shows too. Yeah, that's good. All righty, let me see. I think that's it. Yeah. All right, let's go here, Leona. Let me see if I can get her in. Thank you, Leona. Let's see. Wait a minute. There we go. Okay, Leona, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller, sir, I'm glad you're back in the saddle, so to speak. I have a VGQ and a quick question, if you don't mind, sir. In the word guide on page 84, you have the word dark, and you say, quote, use this word with extreme caution. When others use the words dark, darkened, darkness, etc., study very carefully the way that such words are used. Study the ways that the words may often be used in a derogatory, non-constructive, and or incorrect manner. study the many ways that the words are used in a manner that directly or indirectly helps to promote thought, speech, and or action that is supportive of the system of white supremacy racism. Ask questions about the peculiar ways that the word dark is sometimes used, end of quote. And then you got about 16 different other variations on the word dark, like dark ages, dark deeds, dark horse, dark journey, dark chapter, dark clouds, and you end on page 88 with the word darky, and you say, do not use this word, and you give the reason. Now, I guess my VGQ is I want to thank you for taking the time to elaborate on that word dark, because I have found myself, just recently having to, well, I guess I didn't use the code. I call myself correcting the person about the usage of the word, but what I should have done instead here is when others use it, ask for a detailed explanation that you can easily understand. So that's my VGQ. My question, sir, is in the revised edition of the code book on page 141, the area of labor. You say, be careful with the way that you use each word. Pay attention to how every word is used. Listen carefully to each word said to you or about you. Practice speaking as if you are always in a court of law and as if someone is seeking to accuse, convict, or punish you. That kind of code behavior, does that apply outside of the area of labor as well, Mr. Fuller? That's my question.
Yes, all areas of activity that I have listed, the 9 areas, are just words themselves, but they all blend in. One blends into another. Economics is a part of labor. Labor is a part of sex. In fact, they say that when a female is fixing to have a child, they say she's gone into what?
Labor.
Labor. All right? So words are just tools. Tools to do what? Communicate. Ideas. That's why you be careful with how you use words. Slow down for one thing and think about what you have to say before you say it. Because in court, you're using what? It's just tables and chairs in there and people. And people are using what in that court? What is it people are using when they come in there? Words. They exchange words back and forth, week after week sometimes, okay? And then they come to conclusions about what the words are supposed to mean. And whether somebody is going to become super rich, as they say, as a slang term, or somebody is going to be sent to their death on account of what? Not on account of what type of food is in the vending machine in the hall in the court, on account of what the tools that were used in that so-called quote-unquote court. Words. So pay attention to every word, not some, and ask questions. Don't jump on anybody and all like that and start an argument. You're never supposed to have an argument. Counter-racist science, you always have a conversation. Conversations are designed to produce constructive results. Arguments are designed to win arguments. That's all they do. That's the difference between a conversation and an argument.
Okay. All righty. Thank you. Thank you, Helen B. And thank you, Mr. Fuller. Now, this person in the 215, I don't have your name. Oh, whoop. Yeah, in the 215. I don't have your name, but I'm going to clue you in. And Helen B., you were on the screen, but you left. Call back and I'll get you in. But right now, the person in the 215, let me see if I can get you in here. Okay, good morning, and you are on with Mr. Fuller.
Good morning, Mr. Fuller. Good morning, Mr. Bobby. My name is Ngozi, and I'm calling from Philadelphia.
Okay.
I want to say, welcome, Black. I am so happy to have the forum back live. I am tickled. I'm glad to have Mr. Fuller back with his stories, his experiences, his logic, and his reason. And Mr. Bobby, by the way, this is VGQ. And Mr. Bobby, you were so considerate in responding to a phone and also to a text during the 3 weeks of absence of live shows. So thank you both, Mr. Fuller, for being back.
Thank
I hope
you, sir.
You stay healthy. And Mr. Bobby, thank you for your coordination of everything.
Thank you, sir. Okay. You got a question for Mr.
Thank you
Fuller?
for your thanks.
Okay. Go ahead. You have a question for Mr. Fuller there, sir?
No, I just want to express that statement.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for your.
I'm still sick, but I'm supposed to do my best, and so I was determined to do, I think, this last show for this year, 2024. Okay. All right.
Yes.
So.
Well, heal.
But I am still ailing, even though I may not sound like it to some people.
Okay. Well, do what it takes to recover fully. Do whatever it takes to recover fully.
I will. Oh. That's what I'm doing. That's the code requires that.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, my brother from Philly. Thank you so much. Okay. Be good one, and for those, I guess I'm speaking in semi-code. I just spoke with management, and they are working on the situation, and then when they know, they will let me know, and then, of course, I will let everybody else know that, too. That's the little code because I don't want to necessarily give out any false information, so that's why I have to keep it that way. Okay. Somebody, who is this, mentioned that war is a racket? Yeah, we discussed that here, trying to get some of these old emails, Gmails out of the way. Mr. Fuller, somebody has taken issue, which I guess they can, with why there's no such thing as Africa, America, or China. Can you expound on that, why that is so, or why you gave your opinion on that?
Because, like in the code book, the word America, what does it really mean? And the word Africa, what does that really mean? I don't mean a glamorized word. I mean with a made-up definition that's, just making somebody feel good or bad or whatever. And the term Asia, what does Asia mean? What does that really mean when you say Asia? That's Asian. What does that mean? People who are speaking have different customs and all like that, but other than that, everybody has a different custom. The people next door to you have a different custom of going about doing things. Okay, so does that make you an Asian and make them an African? So what the code book says, Americans, Africans, and Asians do not exist, because an American or an African and an Asian are people who practice justice. Otherwise, why be any of these things? And justice means you don't mistreat anybody, and you give everybody who needs help. Okay? But I don't know of any Africans that exist who guarantee that nobody's mistreated. In Africa, nobody is mistreated. and that the people who need help the most always get it in Africa? No. Same thing in Asia. People will say, well, in China, I mean, this and that and the other, nobody in China is being mistreated right this minute as we speak in what they call China. Because if anybody's being mistreated, mistreatment is mistreatment by any other name.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to be an African, an American, or an Asian, you have to be, according to the code, a person who doesn't mistreat anyone, directly or indirectly.
Indirectly.
And the other thing is, because you might say, well, I don't mistreat nobody, but what about the other thing? See to it, guarantee that the person that needs help the most gets it.
Okay.
I don't know anybody that guarantees those two things. So the code says Africans, Americans, and Asians are yet to be invented.
Okay.
They don't exist.
Yeah. Before I read this next Gmail, I've been around here for a minute anyway. I'm still trying to figure out what the heck is a Pacific Islander. I've never heard of that. Do you know what a Pacific Islander is, Mr. Fuller?
I've been in Pacific Islands, whatnot. I've been on Guam. I passed briefly on the ground in an airport in Hawaii. I mean, they call those Pacific Islands. You know, does that make me a Hawaiian because I was in the airport, sitting there on the tarmac, never got out? But a person can say, well, and what does the code say about where you've been and all like that? I've been every place I have never been, and I've been every place that I've ever been. All right? That's how the code handles that.
That's how the code handles it.
So all that stuff about I'm a Pacific Islander and I'm this and I'm that, do you practice justice? That's the only question.
Justice,
not where you're located. Mm-hmm. Where you're located is just a location. And you're located wherever you happen to be. And when you go somewhere else, you say, well, now I'm a desert dweller. Why? Because I visited Death Valley, and that's a desert. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, but you're in Los Angeles now. Is that the same as where you've been? Well, yes and no. All right? But where are you from? You're from every place you have ever been, according to the code.
According to the code, yeah. Okay.
And you are also from every place you have never been.
Never been. Right. That keeps it balanced. Okay, racial classification. Wow. Okay, this is a Gmail from Steve Randy. He says this. Oops, okay. He says, hi. I want to know, in Mr. Fuller's opinion, if the definition of who's considered white will keep on changing until the end of white supremacy.
Yes.
The reason Okay.
Well, I want to answer that question.
Okay.
Because I'm supposed to answer questions one at a time. The answer is yes.
Okay.
So, things are the way that they say white supremacists are, even though millions of things they say are nowhere near the truth.
Yes. Okay. All right, so you answered the first part. Okay, good. He said, the reason I'm asking is that 80 to 90 years ago, people labeled as Irish, German, Catholics, which whites, Italians, became white. There's also a category of white Hispanic. And recently, in the last 30 years, those of North Africa and Middle East are also considered white. So, again, he was asking the definition, who's considered white, will keep on changing until the end of white supremacy. Well, you just answered that. You said yes.
Yes, that's the answer.
Okay.
It'll change. You know.
Okay.
You sit. They say I read a magazine called the Holiday Magazine back in the 1960s, and they had a picture of a member of the Watusi tribe. The person in the picture, that picture was huge in that magazine because it's a big magazine.
Yeah.
And the photograph showed this member of the Watusi tribe. And he looked as black as a person can be black to me. Member of the Watusi tribe? Okay. But he was classified by the magazine or somebody who wrote the article as Caucasian because he had Caucasian features. Now, that's what the article, if I recall correctly.
Yep. Yeah, Holiday Magazine, right?
The Holiday Magazine.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He was classified as white, even though he's black. By whom? By the white supremacists, if they back it up. I don't know who wrote the article, but if the white supremacists said, oh, yeah, he's black, but he's white. So you ask a logical question. Well, how can he be black and white at the same time, but even though he's black, his skin color is black, and you condemn everything that's black, but you say that he's Caucasian, which means white. Is that correct, sir or ma'am? And they'll say, yeah. And you say, how can that be? That's not logical. They say it's logical because I said so.
Yeah, I was going to say that. You are because
that's how they answer these type of questions.
Yeah,
I mean, right up front. They get right in your face and say, yeah, he's black, but I'm saying he was black 5 minutes ago. Right. But I'm saying he's white now. All right. Yeah. So what are you going to do about it if you don't like it? If you don't like it, tell me all about your lustrous African history and all like that. Okay. You know everything. Negro. So what are you going to do about it? I said he's white.
Mm-hmm.
End of story.
Yeah.
See, now you prove to me that he ain't or he is and whatnot because you can't even prove who you are.
Wow. So you are because I said you are. Wow.
Yes.
Whoa. Whoa.
And so far, they'd back it up. See, they don't play around. When they get serious, they're not playing. And they're proving that all over the world right today by saying, we worship death. We're going to see just how much death we can make, even among ourselves, because we are super. We can kill all of our own people and whatnot, and still we're super. So what? You know? I mean, we are gods on earth. We're not gods in heaven. Even the white supremacists say that. We are gods on earth. To all of you dark-skinned people, and whatever I say do, you better do it.
Okay. Let's see. This will be the last one. This is the Gmail. Let's see. It says here, the Godfather movie is a classical movie and study guide for all racist white supremacists. The language of subtlety, not Italian, is spoken and is a code for whites to stay clever. Google the word subtle or refer to the racist show, quote, Family Guy, end of quote, to understand this, or you will be confused. A law in physics states that the past, the present, and the future are all one and exist at the same time. When you experience deja vu, quantum synapse, in the brain, you are actually jumping into the mind of your future self at another coordinate, and you are now having a feeling of remembrance. Further proof of the Ba, B-A, represented by a bird in ancient Kemet. If this was not true, since all of the audience has experienced this deja vu, then they can go right ahead and check themselves into a psychiatric hospital given to us by the Creator. It is not living the same events over again that goes against reincarnation. Has Mr. Fuller ever heard the old slave expression, being born with a veil?
No, never heard it.
Okay, you never heard that being not been a veil over their face. Okay, all righty. Okay. It says, in addition, UAPs are a threat to the narcissistic white supremacist who likes to play the he-man. UAPs are the people of Mars, okay, that Elijah Muhammad spoke of. The United Independent Compensatory Code is to fight racism. Racism is the only show on the planet. How about that? What's your thoughts on that, Fuller, as we close this bad boy out?
Well, racism is the only what?
Wait a minute. See, racism is the only show on the planet.
Well, you can call it that, and that would be, I wouldn't say the only show, but you can call it that. And if a person calls that and explains what that means, whomever said that, the only show on the planet, well, the person who said it can explain in detail what is a show. See, that's what I mean by paying attention to words. Words are just tools, all right? And you can attach any kind of definition to any kind of word you want to.
Sure can. Mm-hmm.
Now, that's one thing that anybody can do. I do it. Like I said, ain't no such thing as no American. Never has been. Or an African. Or an Asian. They're just people doing stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have come to the end of these 2 hours. Boy, sure missed being on the air, but so glad to have you back and battling whatever it is that you have to. I think we all are battling something physically, mentally, spiritually, socially, emotionally, economically, financially. But anyway, we're here, and thank you, Mr. Fuller. Thank you, callers. And Mr. Fuller, producejustice.com for the books. Give you the last word. We have about 2 minutes, so give you the last word, Mr. Fuller.
Well, this is my last. I've said all that I can say, and I'm going into the next year. I hope that I get well, because if I don't, the alternative of that is being dead, okay? You know, I'm either going to get well or I'm going to be dead, okay? And I think some comedian once said that the only thing that he can't stand about being dead is it's so hard to get anything done.
Okay.
But stay focused, and going into the new year, produce justice. Stay focused on that. Don't deviate from it. And you say, well, I'm about to give up hope. Don't. All right. Keep hope alive. Reverend Jesse Jackson,
That's what he said.
I think coined that phrase.
That's what he said.
If he said it, does it make sense? Yes. It's logical to me. All right? You say, well, I don't like Reverend Jesse Jackson because he's so full of, whatever and whatnot. But, hey, so if a person is telling the truth, or they're making a recommendation that makes sense, I don't care who it is.
That's right.
Always go with that.
Always
go with the thing that has the most constructive result.
That's
Remember those two words, constructive result.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Thank you, caller. So good to have you back. So good to have you callers back, too. We'll try to do better next week. ProduceJustice.com. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. 888 Rita. Ha ha. Okay, be good one. Everybody have a good week. All right. Bye-bye.